following is a presentation of the Reviewing Network Sports.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the NFL Network. I have no idea what the hell I was trying to do with that intro there. I'm trying to like extend nice saying another with every passing episode, and I'm just making myself sound more stupider than I could imagine, but I apologize for that. But welcome to another episode of the NFL Network, everybody. It is now the midway point of the 2025 NFL season. Again, it's hard to believe we're already at this point in the season, but, you know, we just had the trade deadline, of course, and for those of you out there who have had YouTube TV and have been wondering where our show has been on there, it's never been on there, but, yeah, the whole thing, yeah, I gotta bring up the whole YouTube TV controversy right now, because it's affecting not just the Disney channels, the ESPN, FX, ABC, FXX, ABC, all those networks. No. Now we're getting into messing around with watching sports on there, because a lot of people missed college football on Saturday, and a lot of people missed a pretty surprisingly good Monday Night Football game for the Cardinals against the Cowboys. But you know, Disney is losing $5 million every single day that they're not agreeing to the terms of the YouTube TV's thing, which is really stupid when you think about it, considering the bad year they've had so far. I mean, this has been even a worse year for Disney is worse than 2023. I mean, that's how bad it is right now. I mean, you know, they've had all these bombs at the box office, and now, yeah, the whole controversy with Jimmy Kimmel, and Donald Trump, and not even Donald Trump, but Jimmy Kimmel is suspending him for the Charlie Kirk thing, and now you got this whole thing going on right now, which is really, I mean, this year couldn't get any worse for Disney if it could get even worse than that. And you know, these next two movies they've got coming out, Predator: Badlands and Zootopia 2, they're supposed to be big hits. They better deliver, because right now Disney needs some good luck here. But for right now, they're kind of being very stingy about YouTube TV's terms about coming back on there. But you know, it's really baffling what's going on with that whole thing in general. I mean, any other time we've had one of these situations, it's usually resolved just as they're about to pull the plug off of it. I mean, NBC just had that not too long ago. I mean, they were about to pull the plug on everything on there, but then at the 11th hour, the contracts they renegotiated just in time, and of course NBC is now playing on YouTube TV. But Disney, no, we got to go out there. We got to put ads on TV saying, you know, go to this website, keepmynetworks.com, and just like, why are you bringing us into your fight here? You're the one that's causing this. And because I went on to that Keep My Networks thing, you know what it is? It's just a petition. It's basically the equivalent of a petition. It'd be like it would be like if I put up a petition to say, you know, give me $1 million. Like, it's just like, I mean, I could do it, but what's the point? Because we, the consumers, can't really do anything about this. I mean, it's basically between two global conglomerates that are essentially billionaires finding billionaires at this point. It's just like, you know, and we all know the reason why Disney is probably holding off on this, because they want people to go to their ESPN app to watch these sporting events. But it's $30 a month. I have YouTube TV, and YouTube TV is about what, $85 a month or so, like somewhere between $85 and $90 a month. And then you add Sunday Ticket with it, which is like another $100, $140, I think it is, $149. Yeah, that's over $250 on that. That's almost $250 on that front alone. And then on top of that, you want people to sign up for this $30 standalone app for ESPN. I also have Disney Plus and Hulu, and I don't even have the ESPN app, because I don't want to spend another $30 on something that I don't really think I need, because I've got it on TV. I should have it on YouTube TV right now, but that's not happening. I don't know. Like, to me, this whole thing's getting more and more ridiculous, but it's happening right now, and just like with the government shutdown, it does not seem like there's an end in sight to this whole thing right now. But hey, there is some good news that happened today, of course. There was one big event that everyone was talking about. This is the must-see event of the day today. There's a whole thing. It's going on all over the country right now. People are lining up outside of buildings for this magical moment. I'm, of course, talking about the trade deadlines, but election day was today, so I hope you went out to vote for select areas, specifically in New York and all that. And it turns out it worked out because that guy, I can't remember, why can't I remember his name now? Zohan, what's his name? Zohan Mamdi just won the. He's going to be the mayor of New York City. Here in Pittsburgh, Corey O'Connor, the son of Pat O'Connor, just got elected mayor. So, a lot of Democratic mayoral candidates senator candidates won today. So, maybe that's a sign of things to come in the future. So, but of course, we're not here to talk about politics. We're here, of course, to talk about the NFL, and of course, what I was mentioning before about the big thing that happened today. The NFL trade deadline came and went at 4:00 today. And we have now everything that has happened since then. And let's just say that today was a pretty eventful day, especially coming up in the final hours. So let's touch on that a little bit, shall we? So let's kind of start back to where we were last week. The last trade that we talked about before we left for the week was the Kyle Duggar trade from the Steelers to the Patriots. Which, hey, it actually worked. It looked a lot better this week for the Steelers than it did in past weeks. So I guess there's that. But not but the day afterward, then the trade started to come around fast and furious. As the Jets in particular were trade crazy this time around. But we'll touch on some of their big trades that they did later on. But one of the first trades they made during this past week was they traded away Michael Carter II and a 2027 7th-round draft pick to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for John Mechie III, which Philadelphia had gotten in a trade earlier from Houston. And, of course, they got a 2027 6th-round draft pick from the Eagles as well. Then Philadelphia made another trade with the Baltimore Ravens, trading for Jair Alexander, who hadn't really done much since coming over from Green Bay this offseason. The Philadelphia Eagles got that and a 2027 7th-round draft pick in exchange for a 6th-round draft pick. On Sunday, the Miami Dolphins made a trade with the Eagles for Jalen Phillips. The Eagles received Jalen Phillips, and Miami got a 2026 3rd-round draft pick. Baltimore made another trade with the Tennessee Titans. Baltimore got Dre'Mont Jones from the Tennessee Titans for a 2026 conditional 5th-round draft pick. So now we come to today, where there was, of course, a lot of big trades that happened before the 4:00 deadline. So on Monday Night Football, Jerry Jones made the big news that we've made a trade and we're going to wait until tomorrow to talk about it. Jerry Jones trying to stir things up a little bit here, even though people would like him to shut the fuck up. But he did make a trade yesterday, and there was actually one of two big trades. We'll get to in a little bit. But the first big one was that he traded for Cincinnati Bengals linebacker Logan Wilson. Dallas got Logan Wilson. Cincinnati got a 2026 7th-round draft pick. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars traded for Jakobi Meyers, who they just saw on Sunday when they played the Raiders, which is kind of interesting because they have a lot of injuries right now on the Jaguars. This was a guy that many people thought he would go to the Steelers, but that, of course, didn't happen. Las Vegas got a 2026 4th-round draft pick and a 2026 6th-round draft pick for him. So that's really interesting that they got the 4th-round draft pick for him. That's really, really something that's very, very interesting that happened there. But we'll get to the big trade that happened in between that and this next one I'm about to get to here in just a second, because that's the one where I really want to delve into. Seattle made a trade. They picked up Rashid Shaheed from the New Orleans Saints, and in exchange, Seattle gave him a 2026 4th-round draft pick and a 2026 5th-round draft pick, which, if you've seen how the Seattle Seahawks have been the last couple of weeks, especially with what they did on Sunday night, adding a guy like Rashid Shaheed is big for the Seattle Seahawks. That team is pretty dangerous right now. That's a team that watch out for. Even though it was against a very banged up Washington Commanders team. They did not pump the brakes on Sunday night at all with them. And adding that guy onto that team, watch out for the Seahawks, man. This could be the year where they actually get back to the promised land. But Chicago adds a former first-round pass rusher in Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2021 after they won the Super Bowl, and then he went to Cleveland this offseason Didn't even last 2 months there before he was traded away. The Bears got him in a 7th round draft pick for next year, and the Browns received a 2026 6th round draft pick. The Chargers filled the need on their own line now with Joe Alt out for the season. The Chargers traded for Trevor Penning from the Saints, and the Saints got a 2027 6th round draft pick. The Jets made another trade for Jasir Taylor from the Chargers, and Los Angeles receives a conditional 7th round draft pick in 2028. So they still got a long time to go before they get the ramifications of that. But let's talk about the two biggest trades that happened on this day. The Cowboys were very busy, but also the New York Jets were very busy as well. So let's go to the Dallas Cowboys first, because after the big trade we're going to get to in a little bit here, because that should take up the rest of our conversation here, the Cowboys made some moves. The Cowboys traded for Quinnen Williams of the New York Jets, defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, and in exchange they gave their 2023 former first-rounder Mazi Smith, and also a 2026 7th-round draft pick and a 2027 first-round draft pick, which is really interesting because if I read correctly, the pick that they... Hold on, let me just check something real quick before I give you some information. Yeah, remember the pick they got in the Micah Parsons trade? That's the pick they traded in the Quinnen Williams thing. That was the most interesting thing about this. But, yeah, that was one of the big trades they made. So the Cowboys making a couple of big splash plays here. Not just only getting Quinnen Williams, but they also got Logan Wilson to help boost that defensive front. And honestly, they needed it, man, because the defense has been absolutely garbage for the Cowboys. Even when the offense has actually looked good for them, I mean, the defense isn't helping them out. I mean, it's pretty much... I mean, no wonder they made a deal with Cincinnati. I mean, it's like they're blood brothers because, yeah, the offenses look pretty good for both teams. Defense, piece of shit. But let's get to the trade that everybody is talking about. And when I saw this, I thought to myself, like everybody else, whoa. Because at first, I mean, what they gave up at first was very interesting alone. I'll just tell you what it is. Sauce Gardner, who they just signed this year, the Jets did, to this massive, it was like a 4-year, 160, what was it, 4 years, $160 million, to like kind of rebooted the 4-year, $120 million contract extension with the Jets. I think it was actually the highest for a cornerback in the NFL at that point. So they had just signed him to this massive deal. And then they trade him away to the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts gave up a first-round pick this year coming up in 2026, and then a first-rounder next year in 2027, which is already stacked enough on its own merits. But then it was reported later on that they added A.D. Mitchell to the list there, which made people think that, Garrett Wilson's probably on the move, but that ended up not happening overall. But the big takeaway from this is that the Colts gave up 2 first-round draft picks for Sauce Gardner when they're coming off a game, and some people have suggested that maybe because of what happened with the Steelers, they looked at this and said, if we have a chance to go get him, let's do this. Let's see if the Jets will actually do it. And sure enough, they actually did it. And the Colts right now, they're one of the strongest teams in the league, despite what happened on Sunday. And they're sitting at 7-2 right now, and barring a collapse for the ages, which maybe this is why they did it, so they can avoid that collapse. I mean, this is a huge get for the Indianapolis Colts, and it just, especially with the games coming up for them with the Atlanta Falcons in Berlin, which I'm assuming is when we're going to see Gardner out on the field first. And then after that, you've got the bye week, and then you got to go to Kansas City. I mean, there's some tough games in that second half of the season for them. So it's no wonder why they made this trade. I'm just surprised that they actually are giving away these critical first-round draft picks overall, especially considering that, what's the future of the quarterbacks? I mean, the belief is that right now that Daniel Jones is going to stick around for the long term now after the season he's had, and probably Anthony Richardson's out of there. So, I mean, what happens next for the Colts? I mean, it's a really interesting time right now for a team that we all thought, myself included, was going to be one of the worst teams in football, and yet, I mean, the first half of the season, they've looked pretty good against a pretty cakewalk schedule. I mean, their toughest games overall were against teams that they lost to. I mean, they lost to the Rams, and they lost to the Steelers, which the Steelers one is probably more shocking than the Rams one, because the Rams right now are a really damn good football team. But still, this was an impressive achievement by the Colts overall, and the Jets were willing to let him go, let Sauce Gardner go, and then let Quentin Williams go, which is weird because the Jets overall have been bad, but the defense has actually not been terrible for the most part. I mean, it's just a very, very interesting situation here, especially after your first win against the Cincinnati Bengals team. But I don't know. I just found this that very interesting overall, and that was pretty much all the major trades. No, a lot of people thought the Miami Dolphins were going to move players around. That never happened. Trey Hendrickson was somebody that everyone thought somebody might try to trade for. Max Crosby too. The Steelers didn't make any big moves, unfortunately. But hey, the Steelers did sign Marquez Valdes-Scantling, so I guess that's something. He's got chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. He's won 2 Super Bowls, so that's something, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, very, very interesting trade deadline with the biggest trade, of course, being the one for Sauce Gardner to the Colts. I mean, that's about as big of an all-in statement that you could say without having to come out and saying all in, we're all in with our guys coming on, Jerry. Yeah, but I mean, you get the idea. So anyway, that is the trade deadline, and that means we go now to our usual thing that we start off with here, and that is, of course, the NFL Power Rankings. I will say, though, before we get to the Power Rankings, I love how every time a bad trade happens in the NFL, they always use the Family Guy clip of, Peter and Lois, they have a chance to they're in this room and they do this timeshare thing where if you stick around, you get like a free boat, or the guy will try to shiest you for what's in the mystery box. And Peter goes like, a boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat. You know how we always wanted one of those. And then Lois just like, well, let's just we'll take the box. Like, they're doing it now with the Jets. Like, I'm looking at a picture right now. Sauce Gardner is an all-pro cornerback, but draft picks could be anything. They could even be an all-pro cornerback. Like, and they use the image of Peter with the mystery box, and it's just like, they use that whenever Micah Parsons got traded, too. I mean, I love that. I love that they use that bit there. I mean, that's actually one of my favorite underrated Family Guy jokes there, but anyway, enough of that. Let's get to the Week 10 Power Rankings for the weekend. A lot of changes once again. Of course, the number one team on there, the Indianapolis Colts, the last 2 weeks fell to the number one jinx curse on here, because every time I pick a team at the number one spot, they always fall off and do something bad they always do something terrible in the game that they're playing this week. And they look pretty bad against the Steelers this week, so that's why they probably made the trade for Sauce Gardner. But lots of changes overall, and certainly a lot of people have already let me know on threads that they do not like my power rankings, especially considering I put the Chicago Bears very high up there, which, I mean, I'll touch on why in a second. You're not going to like my explanation for it, but again, these are my power rankings. I don't do the normal power rankings like everybody else does. I'm not going to put teams in there just because I base this on the best overall performances that I saw from this past week. And sure enough, the number 5 team, the Arizona Cardinals, is proving once again that they and the Denver Broncos are the Dallas Cowboys' kryptonite. I mean, the Cardinals, they're a mixed bag of a team this year, and I don't know if it's Kyler Murray that's the main problem or it's just Jonathan Gannon, but the scapegoat right now is Kyler Murray, because as we're seeing with Jacoby Brissett, what he did yesterday against the Cowboys was pretty damn impressive to play near perfect football for the most part. I mean, there was that fear going into the fourth quarter that they're going to blow this lead again, because that's what they always do. But no, the Cowboys were the ones that were making more mistakes on Monday night than the Cardinals were. And it's hard not to argue that Jacoby Brissett right now is the answer for the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, I don't think this team is going to be a Super Bowl contender. I don't think they're going to go to the playoffs, but there is at least some form of consistency with him as the quarterback, and we'll touch on what's going to happen next week against the Seahawks, because that's a tough game matchup next week. But I put the Cardinals at number 5 just because of the fact that they shut down the Dallas Cowboys, which thank God, man, because everyone keeps giving the Cowboys a free pass because they keep giving them a free pass, even though the defense for the Cowboys is terrible because they let go of their best player. Yeah, the offense is good, But even the offense in this game looked terrible against the Arizona Cardinals. And it's been like that for the Cardinals for so many years. I mean, it's been like this for a couple years now. Like, it's not going to go away anytime soon for them. I mean, them and the Denver Broncos just know how to beat the Cowboys. I mean, like I said, the Cowboys haven't beaten the Broncos since 1995, the last year they won the Super Bowl, or even sniff a Super Bowl. Because they're not going to do anything that gets them back to the Super Bowl this year. Sorry, I don't know what if Cowboys fans want to hear that or not, but that's just the cold, honest truth. Which brings us to number 4 on this list. Probably the most shocking upset of the entire week. Carolina going into Green Bay after the Green Bay Packers just decimated over the Steelers the previous week. And then the Carolina Panthers going in there in probably one of the ugliest games of recent history. I mean, it was a windy game. I mean, bad passes by Jordan Love. Bryce Young didn't throw a touchdown. He had one interception, and the Panthers still won that game. I mean, I'll give the Carolina Panthers this. They are doing a lot better this year than they've had in a long, long time. I mean, this year in particular, it really does feel like David Tepper is taking the lessons of the San Francisco 49ers. The owner should not be the headliner in your season. The players should be. And right now, the Panthers are doing a good enough job of sticking in there. They're kind of like the Cardinals right now. It's really tough to tell what kind of a team this is going forward for the rest of the year. No, I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. No, I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to fight for the NFC South title. I mean, they'll make it interesting with Tampa Bay there, especially with Mike Evans out for the season. But I mean, Carolina has a chance to make some noise and possibly be spoilers to these teams coming up in the next couple of weeks, considering how well they've played the last couple of weeks. I mean, they are really. I mean, it's mostly because of the running game getting going. You know, Bryce Young's getting a whole lot better. You know, just everything that the Panthers need to have happen with this guy entering his 3rd year in the league, and they're doing a fantastic job of doing that right now. Sitting there at 5-4. Their schedule overall actually does not look too bad. I mean, next week you got the Saints, which that should be an easy win, and then you got to go to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, which you already beat them you already blanked them out in the first part of the season. Will you be able to do it again? There's a possibility. They could get to 7-4 then. And then you got 2 real tough games coming after that. At San Francisco and at Los Angeles. So that would put them at 7-6, which, I mean, it's better than where they have been in the last couple of weeks. But like I said, I don't think it's going to get them to a playoff positioning this year. But it's definitely a sign of confidence going forward with this team. There's a future ahead of them. But I mean, it's just about finding the right people to get this team going here. And who knows? Maybe they could be the spoiler to some of these teams that are playoff contenders right now. But again, we have to see what happens coming up in the next 2 months. So, number 3, the only team I think that's been in here. Actually, that's not true because the Chicago Bears were in here once. The Los Angeles Chargers. I had them at number 3. Yeah, they played a Tennessee Titans team that wasn't that great. It obviously isn't great this year, but considering all the injuries that the Chargers have had, and yet they're still 6-2 right now. I mean, give Jim Harbaugh a lot of credit. Him and Justin Herbert are keeping this team together despite all these injuries that are knocking these players out. I mean, you don't have your 2 top running backs, but Justin Herbert continues to play as well as he can. As long as he's as long as he's on the field, this team's can go places. But it's just a matter of can you actually finish the season on a high note, and can you not fall off at the worst possible time and start collapsing again, or AKA chargering. But we'll see what happens. They got a big matchup this Sunday night, as we'll cover it here on the Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch. But let's get to the one that everyone wants to hear me talk about. Number 2, the Chicago Bears. Now, when I put my list up earlier today on Threads and Blue Sky and X and Twitter, Facebook, all those places, people let me know that they were not happy with the fact that I put the Chicago Bears so high up on the list. And, like I said, my list, my rules. If you don't like that, go make your own power rankings. But, sorry, I don't think the Seahawks and Rams did anything that special to make this list. But Chicago, I put them so high up there because of all the games on Sunday that was that was a close matchup that nobody really expected it to be. Bears and Bengals, man. Bears and Bengals. And this was probably the best overall game for the Chicago Bears I've seen all season long. The fact that they had to survive that game. They had to survive Joe Flacco coming back and nearly taking that game away from them. And Caleb Williams with that dominant throw to Colston Loveland to seal the game at that point with that touchdown. I mean, this Bears team really is something special here. I mean, I don't think they're going to go. I don't think they're going to. Like I said, I don't think they're going to go to the. I don't think they're going to make a deep playoff run this year, but they could make the playoffs considering how tough this division is. Like I said at the beginning of the season, the NFC North and the AFC West are the two toughest divisions that we'll have this season, and so far that is coming to fruition right now. I mean, the Chicago Bears, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, so crunched up together right now. I mean, it's just a very interesting scenario that all these teams have going for them. And the Chicago Bears right now have looked the best they've looked in a long, long time. Now, granted, I don't know if that's going to last, but if they can find a way to get the job done and finish the second half of the season, unlike they did last year, I mean, they're in a better position right now than they were when they had Matt Eberflus there. I think everybody can agree with that. So, and again, they have a cakewalk schedule going forward coming up here. Okay, maybe not cakewalk, but next week they got the Giants at Soldier Field, which that should be an easy win for them. They'd be at 6-3. Then you have the rematch at Minnesota, which I would think that the Chicago Bears are going to go in there to get revenge. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers at home, which that should be an easy win because you kicked the Steelers' asses for 30 years, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon this time. So 8-3 for them. And then comes the Friday night game, Black Friday game against the Philadelphia Eagles. That'll be a tough one overall. And then you got to host Green Bay twice, and then San Francisco and Detroit. So, yeah, I mean, they could at least get to 9 wins before the season is over. I don't know how they'll do against Green Bay, but I mean, it should be an interesting end to the season for the Chicago Bears. There's at least promise this time around compared to what there was last year, when the Chicago Bears were getting going at this point in the season. And then came that Washington game, but I digress. And not surprisingly, the number one team this week is the Buffalo Bills. Not only going out there and beating the Kansas City Chiefs once again, but once again showing that the Buffalo Bills are one of the best teams in football. Despite that 2-game losing streak they had, they're getting back on track. Their schedule overall is pretty promising. I mean, a schedule that includes going to Miami this week. Then you got to go to Tampa Bay, which should be a really good game. And then Houston, which we don't know if C.J. Stroud will even play in that game. Then, of course, you go to Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, at New England, Cleveland, Philadelphia, New York. If these guys just keep winning and don't let the Kansas City Chiefs get anywhere near them, they could be hosting several playoff games, the last couple playoff games in Highmark Stadium before they move over to the new stadium next year. But I mean, the Buffalo Bills did a good job against Kansas City. Everyone expected that to happen in the regular season. Now go ahead and do it in the postseason so you can get to the Super Bowl already. For God's sake, that's what we're asking you to do. So yeah, I know that some of you will not like the answers to the questions about why these teams are on there, but again, my list, my rules. So anyway, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to my predictions for week number 10. So week 9 overall was probably my second best week of predictions this season. 10 out of 14, 71.4%. I'm getting better after week 6 was my low point at 46%, but as the weeks have gone on, I've gotten better and better and better. So hopefully that means I'm getting more correct on these predictions than I am getting wrong. But again, that probably is not really what's really happening here. But who knows? Maybe that is. Maybe it's not. But that's beside the point. But week 10 here. Let's go to my NFL winner predictions for week number 10, and we'll start off with the Thursday Night Football matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos. The Broncos continuing to just plow their way through the AFC West. They are leading the division with 7 wins and pretty convincing wins and pretty close wins overall. I mean, this is a team that does not give up. I mean, the last couple of weeks have been comebacks from one after another. I mean, you take down the defending champs in the Philadelphia Eagles at their home. That's pretty big. You win a close one against the Jets. You come back as big as you did against the Giants. You sweep the Cowboys. And then the Texan game, let's be honest, the Broncos were not that great that game. I mean, the Texans really weren't either, but it really came down to the Broncos just getting into field goal range, kicking the game-winning field goal, and boom, that's where they're at. And so that's where they're sitting at 7-2. And I mean, they are a good football team right now. I mean, they really are a team that's worthy of being at the top of the AFC West right now. But now here comes the next 2 weeks that really will define your season, because you got the Raiders this week, and then next week you've got the Kansas City Chiefs, the first of 2 games in the next month or so. But you're going to be taking on the Raiders, who had their best offensive performance of the season this past Sunday, but you still lost in overtime because they wanted to go for 2 instead of going for the tie, and Geno Smith's pass got batted away, and yeah, that was a game that I did not get to see in full because I was doing the Sunday night NFL rewatch of the Bills and Chiefs game. But I mean, the Raiders this was their best overall game in the season. They scored the most points. They looked the most consistent. Brock Bowers got 3 big touchdowns in this game. Ashton Jeanty had a big day. I mean, this Raiders team looks like the team that won that first game of the season against the Patriots. I mean, that's how good they looked. I mean, this was their best overall performance of the season. Granted, they lost, but it's a step in the right direction for them. It definitely is. And so this could be a very interesting matchup overall. I mean, we know that these divisional matchups can usually be very, they can go to many different ways. We've had some games this season that went one way that they should have. The 49ers-Rams game, of course, and then Steelers-Bengals game. But I would say, because this is being played in Denver, and Denver has had some pretty good home field advantage this season, I think they will rebound from their struggle last week and find a way to win this game against the Las Vegas Raiders. I think this should be an easy game to win. The Raiders are trying to put an end to 2 consecutive losses to the Broncos, 4 consecutive losses on the road to their fellow AFC West opponents, and an end to 8 consecutive losses to their fellow AFC West opponents, regardless of location. I just don't feel comfortable in the Raiders right now. I still don't think Geno Smith is the future for them. I mean, I still can't get over the 31-0 blowout against the Chiefs, where, I mean, that game was already thrown up, and it was just kind of like, put Kenny Pickett in a time when he's not what am I trying to say here? Put Kenny Pickett in a time when you could still have a chance to try to come back in there, because he's going to do better in that game than Geno Smith did. And sure enough, that didn't happen. And when they did, it was already too little too late. But I hope you enjoyed that little bit of dead air there. Trying to figure out what I was going to say. But bottom line here, the Denver Broncos should win this game. I think it won't even be close, one would think. But sometimes these Thursday night football games this season can surprise you. But I don't think this is going to be much of a surprise. I think the Broncos will win this one. I think the Broncos go to 8-2, and I think the Raiders drop to 2-7. This will be the best start the Broncos, I think, had since the Super Bowl 50 run, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think the Broncos should win this one easily. I should also mention that Broncos Raiders game is actually the Broncos' second game with a divisional opponent, and the first one they lost to the Los Angeles Chargers. So this is a big one they need to win to help them get ahead of the Chargers and the Chiefs. But with that said, though, we are moving on to the Germany game this week between the Atlanta Falcons and also the Indianapolis Colts. Why am I speaking like a Frenchman? I don't know, but of course the Indianapolis Colts lost to the Steelers in a game that most people, including myself, thought was going to win that one. I thought the Colts were going to win that one just because of how good they have been this season. I mean, they have proven that they could beat really good football teams, and yet they go to Pittsburgh, a team that has been very questionable with their defense, and the defense came through in a big, big way. Daniel Jones returned to New York Giants form, and the Colts lost this one overall. And they shut down Jonathan Taylor. And Jonathan Taylor had a season-low 45 yards on 14 carries. Tyler Warren was not even a factor in this game for the most part. That's how big the Steelers' performance in that game was. But they're going to be taking on the Atlanta Falcons, who had a chance to beat the New England Patriots, get some revenge for Super Bowl 51, but they still can't get over 28-3 because it came down to the wire, and a missed field goal by John Parker Romo was the difference maker in that game. And New England got the best of Atlanta once again. So they're going to Berlin, Germany for this matchup here, and both of these teams are in desperate need of a reprieve. A lot of people are thinking that the Colts are going to start falling out the crater here because of their schedule getting tougher here. Because you got the bye week, then you got Kansas City, 2 times with Houston, 2 times with Jacksonville, at Seattle, and at San Francisco. That's a tough stretch from the way you started your season at 7-2. So, yeah, this is going to be very, very tough overall for the Colts to really try to for these both teams in general. The Colts and the Falcons desperately need a win. In terms of who I think will take this one, I think the Colts are better suited for the situation here. I just don't think the Atlanta Falcons are really all that good this time around. Even when they're using their best players, they're still having trouble being consistent overall. They haven't won a game since October the 13th against the Buffalo Bills. They've lost 3 straight, and I really don't think that'll change this time around with the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts need to get back on track. I think this is a good game for them to get back on track overall in Germany. I think they should win this one here. I think the Colts get back on track. They get to 8-2 before the bye week, and so they move on there. They get ready for Kansas City the next week. I got the Colts going to 8-2, Falcons dropping to 3-6. So following that, we have got the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants. Oh, the Giants. It just keeps getting worse and worse for you. But there was some good news. Nobody suffered a serious injury that completely ruins their season, so I guess there's that. But, yeah, you had no chance against the San Francisco 49ers. We talked about the Chicago Bears already, the dominant performance they put up against Cincinnati. And, we got the Giants going to Chicago. Chicago coming off of that big win. They've won 5 of their last 6 games after starting 0-2. They're playing good football right now, and they should be able to keep this winning going here before they get that big matchup against Minnesota next week as revenge for how the season began. I mean, a game that they had sewed up, and then J.J. McCarthy woke up in the second half. But, yeah, this is going to be a game that the Giants will probably forget once again. I think the Bears should easily win this one. Bears should go to 6-3, and the Giants should drop to 2-8. It's just not looking good for the New York Giants overall, and it wouldn't be surprising at all if we start seeing signs that maybe Brian Daboll probably gets fired within the end of the month, and the Giants start anew again. It just feels like it's going down that pathway. So then, next up, we've got the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins. These two teams met earlier in the season on Thursday Night Football in a game that actually didn't seem that bad for the Miami Dolphins. It was a game where they kept it close, but in the end, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills got the best of them in the fourth quarter, and they just had no way of getting back there. And so now we've got a matchup here. It's following their 6th consecutive loss to the Bills. The Dolphins in a dire situation right now. They got embarrassed last week against the Baltimore Ravens. They didn't even try. I mean, they were up 3-0 at first, and everyone thought that maybe this was the way to turn it around. But then, as soon as that first fumble happened, it was pretty much over because the Ravens were going to mop the floor with them all game long. And sure enough, they did. 28-6 was the final score. Tua Tagovailoa looked terrible in that game. Mike McDaniel, why does this guy still have a job? They fired the general manager, which, I mean, why? Like, if you're going to fire a general manager, you got to fire the coach because the coach is doing a terrible job. But no, we're going to keep him around for the rest of the season. It's like this Dolphins team makes no sense. They're 2-7. The coach is clearly terrible. They had a chance to trade some players away so they could start from scratch all over again, and yet they're not going to do a single thing of that. They didn't trade anybody today, and so they're back to square one. They're back to where they were before. They're just going to accept the fact that they're going to be terrible all season long. It's a mess. It's a mess right now in Miami, which should be good news for Buffalo, who are trying to get back on track and get back next to the New England Patriots, and they should do that with these here. The Buffalo Bills should easily win this game, go to 7-2. Dolphins drop to 2-8. I would be shocked if the Dolphins found a way to win this game. I just really would. Like, it's going to take like a miracle like against Atlanta to have that happen again, which I don't think it's going to happen with this matchup here. Speaking of the Dolphins, the team they just faced, the Baltimore Ravens, are traveling out to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. We just touched on the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson came back on Thursday night, returned to form, and now the Ravens are officially back, which basically means they're just biding their time and waiting for the Steelers' eventual collapse to steal the division once again, because we know it's going to happen. But they're going to be taking on the Minnesota Vikings, who put up a not bad matchup between the Detroit Lions, beating them in their own stadium. Lions came close to coming back in that game, but they broke a 4-year stretch in Detroit and beat the Detroit Lions pretty convincingly with J.J. McCarthy back in the swing of things. I don't think J.J. McCarthy is ready just yet to take this team back to where they were last season. I think those critical losses when he was not there are going to bite them in the ass big time. And they're hosting a really tough team in the Baltimore Ravens. Like they're not as strong as they should. They're not as strong as they have been, but we just saw it last week against a bad Miami Dolphins team. And granted, it was a bad Miami Dolphins team. Granted, this team really did not do well against playoff contenders like the Bills and the Chiefs. But the Vikings overall can be a very mixed bag. They are not as consistent as they should be. I mean, they could somehow pull off an upset win over the Ravens in this one here, but I think the Baltimore Ravens should win this one here because this is just what they do every time. They start off terrible, and then when November happens, it's just like they start moving, they get going, and sure enough, they're back to what everyone expects them to be. So, I would not be surprised if the Ravens win this one. I'm going to give them the win in this one to go to 4-5, and the Vikings to drop to 4-5. I just think that's what's going to happen with this one. Following that, you've got the Cleveland Browns hosting the Jets. Both teams were on their bye weeks last week. Cleveland got a big win. Cleveland lost to the New England Patriots. You know, Myles Garrett, of course, had that 5-sack day, which didn't amount to anything in the end. And then you got the Jets that made some big moves in the last couple of days with a trade deadline. Even though they won their first game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and now they're going into Cleveland. But here's one notable thing about this particular matchup that should be kept in mind here. This is going to be a CBS game. It's going to be announced by Spiro Dedes, Adam Archuleta, and Aditi Kinkhabwala. Now, I bring these three up because they have been there for some of the biggest, craziest games we've had this season. They were there last week for the Cincinnati game. They were there for the Cincinnati game against the Chicago Bears. They were there for the Cincinnati Bengal game against the Jets when the Jets came back in the fourth quarter to beat them. I mean, they have been there for some crazy games, so this thing could get insane pretty quickly. Despite everything that says that the Cleveland Browns should win this one, it could really come down to just crazy situations, specific indications of what the score is and how close it can really be, and what could Justin Fields really do in this situation here. But I mean, it's something that could actually happen here. But if we're being honest here, I do think the Cleveland Browns should have the upper hand in this one here. I think they should be more suited to win this game. But stranger things have happened. But like I said before, I'm not picking the Jets ever again because I just gave up hope on them after the way they started their season and so many games they blew. But for this one in particular, I am going to go with the Cleveland Browns to win this one, to go to 3-6, and the Jets to drop to 1-8. And next up, we have got the Tom Brady Bowl. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the New England Patriots. Tampa Bay coming off of their bye week after a 6-2 start to the season. Is after a 6-3 start to the season, right? Right? Is it 6-3 or is it 6-2? 6-2. I'm sorry, 6-2. And of course, their last game they had on Monday night, where they lost Mike Evans for the season, that's going to hurt them in the long run here. But Tampa Bay has proven that they do not give up in critical situations. Baker Mayfield feels right at home in Tampa Bay. He finds his way to get to different weapons. He's got Amika Buka. Chris Godwin is there. He's got all these different weapons around him. He should be able to. He's able to keep this team afloat despite everything that goes on behind the scenes. But they're going to be taking on a red-hot New England Patriots team who has been red-hot ever since, quite honestly, ever since that Pittsburgh game. I mean, they have won 6 straight. Drake May is not doing anything spectacular in terms of, like, his playing abilities, but he's breaking all these different records for the Patriots that Tom Brady has had for a number of years. And this is going to be a very intriguing matchup overall. And some might even say this could honestly be a preview, potentially, of the Super Bowl. I mean, it could be that way, you know. I mean, the only thing that would make it more intriguing and interesting is if it was actually on Fox so that Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady could call it, but that is not the case here, unfortunately. But regardless, though, this should be an intriguing matchup between two very solid teams. I mean, could easily be the game of the week overall. In this particular case, because it is being played in Raymond James Stadium, I think it is going to be Tampa Bay that wins this one. I think it'll be a close game. I think both teams will really duke it out to the very end. It may come down to a game-winning field goal for the Buccaneers if it has to, but I think the Buccaneers get on track. They go to 7-2, and New England will lose their first game in 6 weeks to go to 7-3. That's just my thinking behind that one. Following that, we have got the Carolina Panthers taking on the New Orleans Saints. Carolina, like I said before, coming off of that big win over the Green Bay Packers. And New Orleans, another bad loss for them, even with Tyler Shough under center. Saints are just waiting right now for the draft to start happening here. And, right now they're duking it out with the New York Jets to get the number 1 pick overall, which the Jets may still have the upper hand because they have more first-round draft picks now. But, yeah, bottom line, the Saints right now are not really all that good right now. Even though they still have Alvin Kamara, they still have Chris Olave. They didn't trade all their weapons away, so there is some hope for this game here. But they're going to take on a Carolina Panthers team coming off of that big win over the Packers. They're feeling good right now. They have a chance to really prove to everybody of what they're able to do. So, yeah, like I said before, I think this should be an easy win for the Carolina Panthers to take. I'll take them to go to 6-4 and the Saints to drop to 1-9. Next up, we have got the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Houston Texans. Houston Texans. That would be an interesting team. The Houston Texans, who they played in Week 3. They beat them in a close matchup, 17-10. And the Houston Texans right now coming off of that loss to the Denver Broncos, not only losing to them, the offense just looks pretty bad, and especially when C.J. Stroud went down. I don't even think he's playing for the next couple of weeks. I think he's out for a little bit here. I don't know if has there been any updates since then, but I would be surprised if he's going to play, if they said that he should be able to play this week. Let me just see what the update is on him. It says that C.J. Stroud is better, but still remains in the concussion protocol. And there's an update from D'Amico Ryans. Let's see what he says. I spoke to him last night. He feels a little bit better. We'll see how this week goes and how he progresses through the week. So I'm just going to say that maybe Davis Mills is probably going to win, probably going to be the quarterback for this game here. I mean, granted, I'll give him this. He did a decent job under center when C.J. Stroud went out, but he's no C.J. Stroud. And like in this matchup here, it's going to be you need a guy like C.J. Stroud to really be the centerpiece of this game here. But yeah, the Texans' offense overall has been kind of a jumbled mess, but the defense has not been that bad. They're going to be taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, after 2 really demoralizing losses after that thrilling Monday Night Football win against the Chiefs last month, they lose to Seattle, they lose badly to the Rams, but they win a close one against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Jaguars are in a good position right now. They're in a position right now where, they're getting back on track with Liam Cohen. I think Liam Cohen's doing a great job of giving this team life, and they should be able to go into this game and win this one pretty easily. Granted, like I said, the Texans' defense is still pretty potent overall, so that could be a contributing factor to this game here. But the Jacksonville Jaguars improved. They got some help when they needed in the wide receiver position by getting Jacoby Myers onto the team. So there's going to be a lot of and so there's going to be I think they have a better chance of winning this game than the Texans do. I think it's going to be. I think this should be a much more convincing win this time around than it was in Week 3. So I am going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this one, to go to 6-3, and the Texans to drop to 3-6. Moving on to the late window games, we have the Arizona Cardinals going out to face the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, the Seattle Seahawks played the Cardinals earlier in the season on Amazon Prime, and the Seahawks mopped the floor with them. Even though Arizona did come back in the fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough in the end. It was 23-20 the final score in that one. Now, 5 weeks late. Now, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 weeks. 5 weeks later, the Seahawks just look like a dominant football team. They tortured the Commanders all day, all night on Sunday. I mean, 31 points in the first half alone for the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, that was pretty impressive, even though it was against a lesser Washington Commanders team than we're used to seeing. But I got to touch on that because they're on their bye week this. No, they're not on the bye week this week. Never mind. Forget I said anything. Well, because they are playing this week. I'll touch on that in just a second. But anyway, they're going to be taking on the Arizona Cardinals, who are coming off that big win against the Cowboys. And it was just announced today that Jacoby Brissett will be the starter for the season going forward, essentially meaning that this is probably the end of the Kyler Murray era in Arizona, which, I mean, I don't want to blame him for it. I still don't trust Jonathan Gannon overall as the head coach, especially after the thing that still bugs me is the way that he treated his running back in that Tennessee Titans game. And just, I mean, I don't know. I still don't trust that guy overall, but, if we're talking about the Cardinals, this is probably the best move overall because Jacoby Brissett is moving the offense much better. They have been in much closer games, and they have been in battles that have actually been is better for them when Kyler Murray isn't there. But their schedule overall is really, really tough because you got the Seahawks. You still got to play the Rams twice. You've got the San Francisco 49ers again. Then you got Jacksonville. Then you got the Texans. Then the Falcons. Then Tampa Bay. Then Cincinnati. So, yeah, this is a very, very tough schedule for the Arizona Cardinals going forward. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs overall, but at least in this matchup here, it gives them a chance maybe against the Seattle Seahawks. But Seahawks right now just are too dominant right now on so many different levels. They are just finding ways to win these games, and it's not even close. So, yeah, I think Seattle is going to win this game, no question about it. Seattle moves to 7-2, and the Cardinals drop to 3-6. We then have another NFC West showdown between the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. We mentioned the Rams and the 49ers before. They met on Prime Video on October the 2nd in a critical overtime matchup where pretty much everyone thought the Rams were going to mop the floor with them, but then, the 49ers basically got some magic with them. Bananas apparently was the reason why they were so good in that game. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the pickle game from the Eagles in 2000. Like, remember the pickle game against the Cowboys? The Eagles were somehow dominant all across the game, and it was because of store-bought pickles. I don't know. I don't think it's just pickles, but maybe it's more than that. But regardless of the whole thing, they're going to be taking on the Los Angeles Rams. The 49ers are. The 49ers have to cut that dominant win over the Giants. Rams mop the floor pretty much with the New Orleans Saints. So this is a matchup here that's very intriguing overall. It could be good. It could go one of two different ways here. San Francisco could still find a way to dominate this one, but I think the Rams should be ready for this matchup here. I think they are in a better situation than they were against the 49ers the first time around. They know what's going to happen with Mac Jones in this matchup this time around, so they're not going to be surprised at all. I'm going to think that the Rams are going to get their revenge in Levi Stadium in this one here. I think the Rams win this one. They go to 7-2, and the 49ers drop to 6-4. And then you've got the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders, an NFC divisional rematch from last season. The Commanders. Let's talk about the Commanders because Jesus fucking Christ, Dan Quinn, you killed Jaden Daniels. I mean, it was 31-7 when Jaden Daniels suffered that terrible injury to his shoulder. At that point, 38-7. I'm sorry. At that point, you put Marcus Mariota on the field. The game is already over. You lost. It's just like, take your loss, live to fight another day. But no. You couldn't do that. You had to let Jaden Daniels go out there when he was getting destroyed all game long. I mean, this was an unbelievable loss on so many different levels. Not just for the fact that the way the Commanders played is with that injury, but the Commanders played terribly. Like, when you watch Jaden Daniels in this game, that's not the same Jaden Daniels that was lighting it up the year before. It looks like he's scared to throw the ball deep downfield. It's just like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you doing the things that made you the success you were the previous year? Like, he didn't throw the ball down the field one time. It was just like quick passes. It's just kind of like, that's not what this guy's supposed to be. Like, something was clearly wrong with him going into that game, and it's just like, and now you've lost him potentially for the rest of the season. Like, I would be shocked if he finds his way back out there. But, I mean, but then again, you're facing the Detroit Lions, who, yeah, they lost to Minnesota last week, but, they were 15-2 last year. They looked like they were on their way to the Super Bowl. And then that second week of the playoffs came, and Washington came into Detroit and completely dismantled them in every way, shape, or form. And now that the Commanders look completely banged up, it's karma time, bitches. It's time to get revenge on these sons of bitches. So, yeah, needless to say, I think Detroit will easily win this game, and it will not even be close. It's gotten from bad to worse for the Washington Commanders, and yeah, not much more to say about them, but Lions should easily win this one. They should get back on track here to go to 6-3, and the Commanders should drop to 3-7. It's just, I just still can't get over Dan Quinn's stupidity in that sense. It's just like, why would you still keep him in there at that point? Like it's like you kill the idea of Dan Quinn and the Dan Quinn and this football team. not Dan Quinn, Dan Snyder in this football team, and yet his ghost still haunts the building, and just the bad luck snake continues to hit this team. I mean, in the same area too, where all these quarterbacks suffer these horrendous injuries. I mean, we've had this happen now for 40 years, all the way back to the Joe Theismann injury. Just like that new stadium can't open up anytime sooner, honestly, for the Commanders. But yeah, their season's pretty much cooked. And by the way, Philadelphia, congratulations! You're going to be the first team in the first team in the NFC East in 22 years to win back-to-back championships in the division. Seriously, tell me who else is left. The Cowboys aren't getting there. Neither are the Giants, and certainly not the Commanders. Yeah, Eagles are going to win the division at this point. Plain and simple. Following that, we have got the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling out to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. The Chargers got a big win against Tennessee despite more injuries starting to pile up. Excuse me. They were getting like completely destroyed. I mean, they're without their top running backs for a good chunk of time. Najee Harris is out for the season. They don't have Omarion Hampton, their rookie. You know, we just said Joe Alt is injured. They brought in is out for the season pretty much. Trevor Penning is still in there. Trevor Penning is the person they brought in. I mean, they're still finding ways to win games, but it's going to get tougher and tougher as these injuries continue to pile up. And you're going to be facing a team that 4 years ago you beat in a pretty epic matchup overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you don't remember that game, that was one of Ben Roethlisberger's last big primetime games on Sunday Night Football, because that was his last season. And it was a matchup that was almost 4 years to the date, actually. I think it was around, if it wasn't this weekend, it was certainly this month. It was around this time. I think it actually might have been around Thanksgiving weekend, I think. Yeah, the 21st, November 21st, 2021. But if you don't remember that matchup, the Chargers led that game for a good majority of it. When the fourth quarter hit, they were up 27-10, and then the Steelers pull off this incredible comeback in the fourth quarter, and it was something where they had a chance to win that game, but it was because of one big play down the field for Justin Herbert, who threw a bomb down the field to Mike Williams for a 53-yard touchdown with 2 minutes left to play, and was pretty much basically the end of that game for the Steelers in that one. So it was an epic showdown where the Steelers almost had a chance to win that game, but in the end, it didn't even matter. Like, to quote Linkin Park, in the end, it doesn't even matter. But they're going to be taking on this Steelers team under Aaron Rodgers, who got a big win against the Indianapolis Colts. And yeah, it was a big win. That was a win they needed to get their season back on track against the best team in the NFL right now in the Indianapolis Colts. And the way they did it, shutting down Jonathan Taylor, shutting down Tyler Warren. I mean, Alex Pierce was doing a lot overall in that game. He had a big game game, but Pittsburgh needed to win that game badly, and their defense looked the best they've looked pretty much all season long. This could be an intriguing matchup overall. It could definitely go both ways. I think a lot of people are expecting maybe the Steelers to eke out a win in this one here. And again, common sense should tell you probably that's the case overall, but this is one of those type of games that the Steelers tend to lose more than they win. I mean, again, it's kind of a common trend with the Steelers overall that they are not that good on the West Coast. Now, granted, the last couple of years they actually have gotten a whole lot better. They've beaten teams like the Rams, the Seahawks, the Raiders. I mean, they have gotten better beating them on the West Coast, but I mean, this is still going to be a very, very tough game overall. You got two very solid quarterbacks here, and the defenses overall, two very good defenses too. I mean, this could be a game that does feel like a repeat of 2021 all over again. And some people will probably pick the Steelers for this one here. I know some people I know, like Urinating Tree thinks the Steelers will win this one, but I'm going to go with the Chargers to win this one. I think it's going to be a very close game between these two teams. And even though the Chargers keep losing players to injury, there should be enough there for the Chargers to somehow eke out a win, especially with Justin Herbert moving his legs pretty much. So, yeah, it's going to be a close game, but I am going to go with the Chargers to win this one, to go to 7-3. The Steelers drop to 5-4. Like I said, it could go one of two. It can go both ways, but hopefully it'll go in a way where I won't snap if the Steelers fumble the ball in the fourth quarter like what happened the last time. Because, of course, we're going to be covering this game on the Sunday Night NFL Rewatch. And, yeah, it's I will try to keep my composure and try to be professional, but I make no promises. So after that, we have the last game of the weekend, which just got a whole lot more interesting. The Green Bay Packers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Packers coming off of that disappointing loss to the Carolina Panthers. Jordan Love having a really terrible day on offense. Not getting into the end zone once. And then Micah Parsons not having a good day overall either. The team really not looking that great over Carolina. They're going to be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who are coming off their bye week. They made some big trades. Of course, we talked about them already. But the big thing, one of the big trades was for Jaire Alexander, the former Green Bay Packer. And so that makes this matchup all the more interesting, even though it already was interesting for the fact that, back in the beginning of the year, when everyone wanted to ban the tuck rule, the Green Bay Packers were at the forefront of that, but of course that did not happen. And sure enough, this is going to be a game where the Packers enter also without Tucker Kraft, who tore his ACL in the last game against the Carolina Panthers, which the Steelers fan inside of me is laughing crazily because, yeah, screw you. That's what you get for what you did to my Steelers. But besides that whole thing, you have but in all seriousness, though, Tucker Kraft, though, get well, man. I mean, I'm bitter of you for what you did against the Steelers, but nobody should ever have to deal with that overall. But yeah, this should be a matchup that is very intriguing overall because it's going to be in Lambeau Field. If it was in Philadelphia, I would say the Eagles probably have a good chance of possibly winning this game. But I think Green Bay wants to send a statement to the Philadelphia Eagles that you're not going to bully us around here. Yeah, we may have been the ones to tell you to get rid of the tuck rule, but we're going to prove to you that we are just as good as you are. And this is going to be a rematch of the NFC wildcard game that started the season, the playoffs last year. I mean, this is a really intriguing game overall, and this is another game that could come down to the wire overall. Eagles probably are favorites to win this one here, but I'm going to go ahead and give win to the Packers, mostly because of the home field. If it was in Philadelphia, I would say the Eagles win this one, but because it's in Green Bay, I think it'll help the Packers out in this one big time. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give the Packers the win in this one to go to 6-2-1. Eagles drop to 6-3. So just to recap my Week 10 NFL predictions, they go like this. The Broncos over the Raiders, the Colts over the Falcons, the Bears over the Giants, the Bills over the Dolphins, the Ravens over the Vikings, the Browns over the Jets, the Buccaneers over the Patriots, the Panthers over the Saints, the Jaguars over the Texans, the Seahawks over the Cardinals, the Rams over the 49ers, the Lions over the Commanders, the Chargers over the Steelers, and the Packers over the Eagles. So with all that said, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the NFL Network. Let me know your thoughts down below on my predictions this week, my power rankings, and all that and much more. But if you like what you saw and want to see more videos like this, check out the last episode we did. Check out our playlist. Hit our like button, subscribe button, notification button. And I will see you guys next Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, whenever you're watching this, for another week of the NFL Network. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and like I said, don't forget to tune into the Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch this week for the Steelers and Chargers. I want to thank you guys also for tuning into this past Sunday's matchup between the Chiefs and Bills. That's actually been our highest viewed one up to date so far of these. So it's good that this is growing. So hopefully this is a sign that we're growing and things are going to be looking pretty good in the future. But yeah, be sure to tune in this week up for the Steelers and Chargers on Sunday night. But like I said, thanks for watching this, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care. Good night.
The following has been a presentation of the Reviewing Network Sports.